Hello, my love, and welcome back to the Unlimited Possibility for Lasting Love Virtual Summit, showing you how successful women attract in their perfect complement and create their ideal life together. I am your hostess, Emerald Sinclair. You probably know me from my podcast, Manifest It All, where I show you how to manifest not only the love of your life, but the life of your dreams. And that's exactly what this summit is all about. Showing you how to raise the bar in life and love so that you can be the woman who manifests it all too. And that is exactly why you are here. And I have an amazing expert for you today that is going to share with you his expertise. It's time to embody unlimited possibilities for lasting love. So let's get started. Today, I have the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. John Gray, who is the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, one of the most well-known and trusted relationship books of all time. It was actually #1 best-selling book in the 90s, translated to over 45 languages in more than 100 countries, continues to still be a bestseller to this day. So as you can imagine, really excited to learn from his expertise. He's written over 20 books. His most recent, Beyond Mars and Venus, is what we are going to get into today. It's completely changed how I view relationships as a love and relationship coach for only 6 years compared to this man who's been doing it for over 40 years. He absolutely blew my mind and taught me so much. And today I am so excited to bring him on board for the summit to share with you how you can manifest lasting love. So, John, thank you so much for being here today.
Emerald, it's a pleasure. And it's always delightful to be interviewed by somebody who's actually read my most recent book on relationships. Thank you.
Yes, I love it. I have so many notes. I imagine we'll just free flow today, but I have my notes on my computer. We'll see if I get into them. Before we do, though, I just want to open up this conversation with, why do you believe in unlimited possibilities for lasting love?
Well, I've married to my wife for 34 years. She has passed on. We're getting up there. I'm 70 now. And we had lasting love, and I'm in a new relationship, and there's lasting love. I figured it out. And it's very, the idea is simple, but there's a lot of changes we have to understand. It's a complex thing, but the idea is very simple. Women have moved over to their male side to come back to their female side, have a lot of practical insights, not to give up their male side, but to balance it with their female side. And when you can do that, then a doorway opens up for lasting love and passion. I think my parents' generation had lasting love. They loved each other. They were companions, 7 children, and they stayed together. But there was no passion. I think after the kids were born, the passion went away, and they were comfortable together. They loved each other, and that was kind of the goal of relationships in the past, because you really couldn't get more than that. However, when women are free to be on their male side and female side, there's the ability to balance the hormones inside such a way that making love will create passion that then gradually drains out during the week, and then you bring it back up again through making love. And that's just the reality of life, but you feel love all the time, and it's different. This is particularly from a man's point of view. Mm-hmm. A man feels the most love when he's having sex. Okay, that's how we're wired up. Women can feel love for their children. Not that I don't love my children, but that women feel love for their pets, for their environment, for their friends, for God. You know, women have more access to feeling. Now, men have a kind of love, if they're healthy, is responsibility. Okay, I'm responsible, I'm selfless, I'm committed, I'm there for you. But that doesn't mean I feel love. See, feeling love is high estrogen. It's a hormone that generates that feeling of love. And when a man can feel both his testosterone, which is desire and focus and selflessness and presence, all that stuff that women want from men, and it's with a woman, he can now relate to her, he'll connect to her feelings, and he opens his heart to feel his female side. without having to become feminine. He's masculine, but he's in touch with his own female side through her, through making love. And the passion just goes higher and higher and higher. So the outcome of that, just to know, where we're going with all this, we'll look at the practical skills for this, is if we look at biologically for women, to be orgasmic, to be multi-orgasmic, which is a wonderful experience for her.
Absolutely. Teach us how to do that.
Well, it's a foundation, but multi-orgasmic is great. And if you look at her hormones at that time, they're basically 20 times more estrogen than a normal man has. It doubles her own estrogen levels. Let's say she's happy, and then he goes through all the procedures that will actually support her estrogen going higher and higher and higher. She becomes multi-orgasmic. Now, part of what helps her to get over the lid, so to speak, is you've got all these romantic gestures, but that's old fashioned. That helps without a doubt, but we need new communication skills, and we need men with higher testosterone levels. What research has shown us is that as men's testosterone levels rise in the presence of his partner, meaning he's not just thinking about some fantasy and it's happening, but actually when her body, when her heart, when her mind is turning him on, his testosterone levels will rise. He'll put out a smell, pheromones. Most people are familiar with that term. If they're not, it's something you don't consciously smell, but it's a signal that your body puts out that your testosterone levels are going higher and higher and higher. That raises a woman's estrogen to higher levels. I mean, it's a biological thing. There's so much biology going on here, because that means it's kind of what she felt in the beginning when there was newness. Newness will stimulate artificially. See, newness goes away. Familiarity sets in. We've made love 15 times. Okay, we did that. That's new skin over there. So newness stimulates this high level of testosterone in men. But once newness goes away, comfort sets in, more love sets in, so forth, family feelings, all that knocks down the dopamine. That's the newness. And he's dependent now on polarity. His testosterone has to go up based upon the relationship rather than based upon newness. And that's the shift all couples go through. And what I'm focusing on with my work, understanding male and female, is when a man is able to provide support for a woman's estrogen to go up, his testosterone will go up. As his testosterone goes up, if the conditions are right, she feels safe, she feels special, it's monogamy, then her estrogen will go even higher. That will raise his testosterone. So there's different studies showing high estrogen in a woman raises a man's testosterone. High testosterone in a man raises a woman's estrogen. So what you have is a reciprocity, and that's called making love. And you can go higher and higher, and there's no other possibility to go that high. It's just an ecstatic union. And when you can only create that, coming back to the beginning of this conversation, if women have enough of their male side and men have enough of their female side, but they have to be able to go to their female side without losing their masculine.
And that, I think, is the challenge. Not to interrupt you, as we were talking before we hit record, so many women, especially the women watching the summit, are so much in their masculine, and then they wonder, why do I attract in these feminine men, these wimpy men? There's no good men out there. When couldn't we argue it's their own fault, because there's so much in their masculine, so much testosterone, that you're saying they're attracting in the opposite, a very estrogen rich man?
Yes, you said it right. I try to say it more softly as a woman to be very direct.
Yeah.
My daughter, who also teaches classes at marsvenus.com, she got a note from somebody who says, Lauren, I really love to hear what you say. Sometimes I think your father hates women. Only because I have to point, if a woman comes to me to make her relationship better, I can only point out to her mistakes. Okay. You can't, if I just say, yeah, you're doing everything right, then we're in a pity party and nothing's going to change. And then you put the man in the room while she's in a pity party, he'll just get defensive. It's an explosive event.
Right. So it's like, we have to be honest with the single women specifically that are too much in their masculine, because they're kicking ass, taking names at work. hyper successful, testosterone driven. And one of the biggest challenges my clients share with me is, I don't know how to soften in my feminine, or I don't know how to trust men because they're so used to doing it by themselves for 5 years, 10 years, even maybe 15, 20 years as a single mom. So what do you suggest to these women besides reading your book, which is absolutely amazing, by the way? I highly recommend it. I've been sharing it with all of my clients to read, but I've got you on camera. So you share with us, how are we helping these women too hyper masculine to get back in their feminine, trust the man again?
Well, you said something very significant in there. I have a lot to say about what you just said, but one thing I never talked about as much is learning how to trust, because you're so good at doing it yourself. You see, what happens if you can't do something yourself, like go back a few 100 years or even 50 years, many women couldn't earn a living, right? So they couldn't earn a living. And so they had to depend on a man for their survival and security. So you're in a situation where you're depending on him. You're developing your ability to trust. And I try to relate to everything. I have a very strong both male and female side. I've mastered this whole thing. I have ecstatic sex. I'm 70 years old. My testosterone levels are 50% higher than a young man.
Nice.
It's really nice. Okay. It took a lot of work to get there.
Inspirational for men of all ages.
Absolutely. And I help men, but also have to help women, because it's a two-way street. But when I'm talking to mainly women, then we have to focus on how women need to adjust. Yeah. If I had men here, I'd be talking about how men can adjust and have the change. But you want to feel your power as a woman, which is I have the ability to make some adjustments and come back to my female side. Now, coming back to your female side is coming back to using a man to feel better. So how do you use a man to feel better? That's the whole thing.
When you're single, how does that work?
Yeah, that's called, well, when you're single, you have the preparation for it, but you also have the dating process. You never date a man. If you're single and you're over 25, don't date a man who's you're more interested in than he's interested in you. Or don't date a man who you don't know him and you suddenly feel sexually aroused. This is out of balance. This is you on your male side. This is also, in psychological terms, we call it, well, a lot of different terms. It's a traumatic bonding with your father. Okay. Absent fathers create a imbalance in your hormones so that you see an absent man, unavailable, married, dangerous, drug addict, and little antennas go up and said, he's the one for me.
That one, I picked that guy.
Yeah. And the way you pick him is based upon sexual attraction. See, men and a healthy male, he will go into a room and there's a certain number of women in there. If he's really young, he's attracted to any woman in a short skirt. But as he matures and gets to know the people, he's not going to be attracted to all women. He's going to be attracted to certain chemistry that goes on. That's a physical chemistry a man needs to feel before pursuing a relationship, generally speaking. Now, let's say I was there's exceptions to everything I say. So if I'm married and I'm not available, I'm in a relationship, then I won't feel so much attraction. I won't feel hardly any attraction to these other women. But I can say in my mind, if I wasn't married, that's the woman I would go for. Okay. See, this is a knowing of the body. That's a physical chemistry. Women need to feel healthy. What I'm suggesting is the healthy beginnings of relationship is in your mind. You feel a healthy chemistry with him, meaning it's not sexual at all. It's curiosity, it's interest, it's admiration, it's exploration. You want to get to know him. You want to get to, you're drawn to him. You want to talk to him. You want to share yourself with him. You want to share your ideas with him. There's a place of intellectual, mental compatibility that you start with. Sure. And that's conversation.
So let me interrupt you for a second. Yeah. So when a woman sleeps with a man on a first date, for example, or is just interested in him for sex, is that being too much in her masculine?
Completely.
And what about when a woman thinks, oh, if I sleep with him, then he'll like me? Where is that coming from?
Illusion. Illusion.
Crazy.
Listen, there's a great cartoon where the woman's asking the man, is it true that you'll like me less if you have sex with me after on the first date?
Yeah.
And he says, well, I'll like myself more.
Oh my God, that's horrible, but brilliant and true. Absolutely.
So, if you want to sow your wild oats and be on your male side, go ahead. But on your female side, the arousal, it's not sexual arousal, but it's the joy of relating, is having conversation with the guy, getting to know him, having him primarily get to know you. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to be validated. I want to have that interaction. Next comes more of an emotional interaction, a compatibility, emotional chemistry, which is he does things for you. He does things. He plans a date. He does this. He does that. And it makes you happy. You see, he has to bond with you as well. See, he doesn't bond with you if it's just sexually. He needs to bond with you by first getting to know you and having respect for you and interest in you. Then you open your heart. First, it opens by him doing things for you and you're delighted and you're happy. But if you're running the show, he doesn't get a chance to bond with you by providing something for you. Now, this sounds so old-fashioned, but it's the masculine side of us, is the part of us that wants to provide for others. Now,
and feel needed, right? And feel appreciated, respected, all of this. Like a man has to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're the expert.
The man, he needs to feel needed. What you need to feel is safety and trust that I deserve it and I can get it. So what kind of a context can you feel I deserve to have him pay for the meal, plan a date for me? What's the context that allows you to do that? Because you're not a selfish person. The context is the understanding that allowing a man to make you smile is a huge gift to him. See, women don't know that, because if I let you do things for me and I smile, maybe in the beginning you think I'll give it back to you, but very soon you'll feel like most women in relationships where they say I give and I give and I get nothing back. Because when you give and give to men, they think, oh, okay, I must have done something good to deserve that, and they do less.
Well, and I love that you said that in your book. A woman gives more and gets less. And so if she actually wants to get more from her man, she needs to give less and retreat and take more time for herself, actually.
Well, there's taking time for yourself, and then there's taking time for him to stimulate your female side. And many times when women don't have a clear understanding of male and female differences, we really come at the world through different lenses. And at times we have a balanced lens. And then we've got role reversal, which is what you'll tend to create in your life. If you're a woman more on your male side, you'll tend to create being in relationships with guys who are more on their female side. And there's a term of a very popular book before Men Are From Mars, and it was called Codependent No More.
Oh, I've read that book.
Yeah, it's a very good book.
It's a great one. Yeah.
And it gave me a lot of insight into women as a foundation for my book, although 10 years of listening to women validated that. So,
yeah, for sure.
But a simple definition of codependence is kind of a definition of any woman who's struggling in a relationship. She makes her partner's needs more important than her own.
Yeah.
She makes her partner's needs more important than her own. And she will tend to, and that's codependent, and she will tend to be attracted to and attract what many people are calling today a moderate form of narcissism. So many women say, I meet narcissistic men, and then I go, oh, we have a codependent woman.
Well said.
So making somebody else's needs more important than your own is codependence. And narcissism, from a limited perspective, is making my needs more important than yours. And
so how do we find that balance, right?
Exactly. So the key to it is, now let's look at biology. Women need to make, just to be happy, not even romantic, 10 times more estrogen than a man. Men need to make, on average, 10 times more testosterone than a woman. Testosterone is produced when I'm making your needs more important than mine.
So if we put that in codependency terms, that's codependency, whereas narcissism is more feminine.
Well, exactly.
Could we say that?
Well, I'm giving the biological basis of what we would call a narcissistic man is actually a very healthy woman. And what we would call a codependent man is, in many cases, is a very healthy man, which means his happiness primarily comes from making her happy.
Making her happy.
But that's not the whole picture, because before he can depend on her response for him to feel happier, he first has to be happy in his own life. See, there's men are not ready for intimate relationships. They may be horny, they may want a relationship, they want sex, which, by the way, shows that he's on his female side. He's wanting sex to get to his female side. You are his female side. You see, this is the balance, but he has to have enough testosterone, because when he has sex with you, his estrogen will go up. Okay. Anytime a man experiences pleasure or love, our joy, our gratitude, all those good feelings, that's estrogen. Now, I have lots of estrogen, but I have a lot more testosterone. So I can stay grounded in the part of me that doesn't take things personally. If you're not grounded into your biological sex, you don't know who you are. And therefore you take everything personally. What it means to take something personally, if a guy shoots me the finger, I wave at him and say, have a good day, and move on. I don't engage myself with that. Now, when I had lower self-esteem, when I never had low self-esteem, but when I was maturing, if somebody shot me the finger, I'd shoot it back, or I'd be bummed out all day and I feel terrible and whatever. That's because I'm letting that person determine who I am. And that's what self-esteem is. Another example of that is when I was a young man, I was teaching meditation. My first talk on transcendental meditation, I was 19 years old. And only one person came. I was devastated. Now, then the second talk, I made sure there was an audience of 30 people. And after that, a nice talk, people clapped. You know, I'm a beginner at that point. And they had a good evening. It was good information. I was just copying somebody else's information at that time. So it was good ideas. It wasn't like I was a master of it. And people clapped and got a lot out of it. Some people learned to meditate. But there were always like 2 or 3 people that would come afterwards and question me in this, why would you say this tone of voice, where they weren't agreeing with me and they felt offended by what I said, or they felt critical of what I said, or that I'm misleading people. So those people, 3 people and 30 people thought it was a wonderful talk. 3 people didn't. When I go home that night, who occupies my brain?
The 3 that didn't like it.
The 3 that don't like me. That's my own low self-esteem, where my sense of success is dependent upon just 3 people, as opposed to, it's healthy. 30 people love me. Sounds great. I did a good job. And we are always interdependent. I'm not nobody's an island on themselves. That's what relationship is about. But when our partner is not providing the kind of support we would like or need, then we disconnect a bit and not dependent on them and depend more on ourselves. So a little self-talk, oh, what they need is this, or she's had a bad day, or he just, he needs to take his alone time for a while. I've been pestering him. You're able to take responsibility, but you're also not taking things so personally. And this is like, one of the best things of Men Are From Mars, and I elevated it in Beyond Mars and Venus. It's kind of like the updated Men Are From Mars, but with science. But that one of the big revelations is when men go to their cave. And when they go to their cave, women often take it personally. Now, if you're attracted to, in the beginning, this guy who's more on his female side, oh, I have such compassion for women today. They're like you said, they're so wimpy, they're so needy, they're so grumpy, they're so irritable, and you just want to get away from them. You want to take your cave time. But cave time for women only strengthens male hormones. So rather than and there's a certain balance. You do need to have your own time separate from your partner. It's a big theme in my books, which is you need to look at a man as 10% of your happiness. Just 90% is you have a life. He's dessert. A man is just dessert. Okay.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's a big premise of what I teach and believe in is make your life the happiest version it can be, and then attract in a partner when you're already your best self. Like, that's going to be a fabulous relationship. Then you complete me, John. My life is not happy until you step into it.
And so the more enlightened version of that is you make me so much happier. There's nothing wrong with you are so special. I don't know what it is. You make me so much happier. I'm a happy, fulfilled person, but you can take me to the heavens. And I'm so lucky and grateful to have you in my life. And biologically, that takes a man who has higher testosterone levels due to your responses to him. So back to this idea of why is it that you deserve to have your needs met more than him? Because fulfilling your needs is actually fulfilling his highest needs. When he does something for you and you're happy, his testosterone goes up. And men today, that's their primary need. They need help in a relationship to bump up their testosterone.
I'm so glad you said that, because so many women have these hyper masculine, I'm a woman, I can do it on my own. And the reality is what you're sharing is you are giving credence and reason why these old roles, which I'm definitely old fashioned. I love being the feminine in relationship. I love having a strong masculine partner, but so many women feel uncomfortable around, well, why should he pay? Why should he plan? Why should he do it? Like some of it's maybe low self-worth, but some of it is just this hyper, I can do it on my own. And I love that you just shared biologically, when a man makes a woman happy by providing for her, it actually fulfills his need, increases his testosterone. So ladies, are you listening? We need to let men be men and take care of us. And then we need to, of course, appreciate them and shower them with the praises and gratitude and love.
So, I hear so much from women where they say, oh, I got another narcissistic man. So women have a fear of themselves appearing narcissistic. And look, why? I'm making so much money. Why am I having you pay for the meal? You see, when women couldn't make money, then a man was feeling great because I can buy you a meal. And so he felt wonderful. And she had a logical reason. Well, he should pay because I don't make any money. Okay. Right. I'm testing the field of what men have enough testosterone where their happiness comes by making me happy. And that's always been the dynamic, is women have all these men to pick from. And you're testing out what man who's happy to be there for you when you ask for more or when you need more. It's kind of like your knight in shining armor. And I know that's people like, oh, we don't like all that, but the biology is such. Now I just come back to the simple biological understanding. Women need 10 times more estrogen. Now, having said that, than men. What generates estrogen is when you're in touch with a need and you trust that somebody will fulfill that need for you without it's like you don't have to pay. They're happy to do that for me. Okay. So it's like my pets. I'm happy to take care of I have a new puppy. So now I'm feeding her.
What type of puppy do you have?
I should bring her. Everybody would die of it. Love.
You should. Oh my God.
she's a little golden retriever poodle.
A golden doodle?
Stop
it. Those are the cutest, smartest dogs in the world. What's her name?
Dodo. I say, Dodo, come. She comes. Dodo, sit. She just sits there. She's always so happy and enthusiastic. And not that a woman has to be that, but a man and his dog, one of the major things that causes a man to cry is if his dog gets hurt.
I am.
Bonds with that dog. And the dog, basically, all that dog needs is pet the dog, be affectionate to the dog. You don't have to tend to it all the time, but you've got to pet it. You've got to attend to it. You've got to feed it. You've got to provide for it. And then the dog's happy. Okay. So if men just understood the feeding requirements of a woman. And
how to pet her and love her.
How to pet her and everything. But more so, women actually have to understand men are like dogs. If you reward them with a treat, they'll do it again and again. They need that little treat. And my dog just loves those little treats. I don't know what's in them, but she sure likes that better than her kibbles. Okay. So I pull out that little treat. She's wagging her tail and she wants it. Well, women are the treat for men. Because you have feminine energy. Men need feminine energy. If they can't get it from outside, if they can't get feminine energy from outside, what happens is they go to their own female side, and that makes them weak. Now, having said that, I'm completely on my female side almost all the time, along with a higher masculine side. Okay, so naturally, as men get older, estrogen levels rise. So I have much higher estrogen levels than I did when I was a young man. That's my female side. That's a part of me that actually loves everything I do. I'm happy all the time. I have very little resistance. I'm massively trusting life. I'm accepting of life. I don't demand perfection. I'm like the perfect wife. I joke with my partner now. I'm like the perfect wife. You're so lucky, but I'm also the perfect husband, okay, or male, because my happiness comes by doing things for her. And I actually know it's, you know, because just to understand masculinity, you see these men. I was just counseling a couple and they're my age at 70, and he just smokes grass and he doesn't do his job anymore. He's retired, and she's like working. She's got her male energy. See, naturally, women as they get older, their estrogen levels start to drop down. Their testosterone increases, but the biology of her adrenal gland, even after menopause, the adrenal gland can make plenty of estrogen, not like she had before, but plenty of estrogen. It's not how much estrogen you have at different ages. You require less to have a normal well-being. You're just not making a baby anymore, so you don't need to have as much estrogen in your body, but you can be multi-orgasmic as long as your estrogen levels are hitting a very high level for your biology, risen by his testosterone. See, you need to have that male.
But what if you don't have that male, right? Because we're talking to single women right now, and I imagine they're like, well, thanks, John. That's great. I'm single. So how am I going to get that estrogen if I don't have that testosterone? And so I think this is an important topic to dig into. And I know you give so many examples in your book, so we're going to plug the book again, but how do we get these hyper masculine testosterone driven women to soften into their feminine, produce more estrogen?
Okay. The first of all is the reality is it won't feel natural.
Okay.
Take willpower. It's like giving up ice cream. If ice cream makes you fat at 70 years old, normal ice cream makes me fat. And I start to get a belly. Now that's death to a man. When men get a belly, bellies produce estrogen, and estrogen suppresses testosterone. That's the function of fat. Fat is on our body to make estrogen, one of its major functions. It makes estrogen, also makes energy. But the fat is there for, and women are born with more genes to make fat because they need to make babies. They have 25% more fat genes on average. Men have 25% more testosterone and muscle genes to make muscles. Now, certainly there's women who have more muscle than me because they work that side of them. Sure. They run out of estrogen and they can't make babies as a result. So, and well-being and sexual fulfillment, orgasmic energy is not going to be present unless women have enough softness to generate the estrogen in order to get to these higher levels. And men have to have enough muscle mass. They need to have testosterone. And everything I say, there's always a yes, but. And so that's why I have to back up for a moment. If you look at all these muscle guys, even if they're not taking steroids, if they're taking steroids for their muscles, they can't get erections. They take Viagra. And that's not real testosterone. You see, that's not going to raise her estrogen levels if he takes Viagra. That's all just fake sex. What you want is a man who's an iron penis for you. Okay. That's what I say to the iron men, you know, try being an iron penis, not an iron man. Okay.
I love that.
Muscles. Well, just for fun, I'll tell you where that phrase came from. So
Tell me.
I just did it. London. I just finished doing a big human health optimization summit in London. And I'm having breakfast in the morning at my hotel, and there's 3 Iron Men around me and their wives, and we're all just talking. And they're telling me why they're Iron Men. They can do these long endurance things. They can do this and they can do this. And I said, well, I can't. And they said, what do you do, John? I said, well, don't really do that, but I'm the iron penis. And they all just got very quiet. And then when I gave my talk on how to create the iron penis, which was, I gave a new title for it for fun, and they didn't come. Okay. And they clearly
no pun
don't
intended.
Anyway, so but it's not just that they take steroids. One of the beginning stages of my understanding all this stuff about hormones is I had a very Mr. Atlas type client. Okay, he was like a Superman, this perfect body that if you take off his shirt, you just go, oh, perfection. He trained a lot. He was a trainer for the Army and the various things like that. And He said, his problem was once he had sex with his girlfriend 3 or 4 times, he couldn't get it up anymore.
Okay.
And I explained to him that because you care about a woman, he says, I can masturbate, I can do online porn, but I can't do it with her. And that's back in 92. Okay. That's when I started realizing all these guys masturbating, the more they masturbate, the less they're able to be turned on to a real woman. And that's what's happening today is guys just can't stay turned on to their partners. But in his case, it wasn't because he was doing porn. It was because he was using up all his testosterone because he was overtraining. To create a body, he spent hours every day training, and it takes testosterone to make muscles. Now, when you make muscles from testosterone, you can't overtrain. You work a certain amount, and then you have to rest. And that's kind of how I started developing some of the ideas that built into men need their cave time. Cave time is really, he's relaxing without being in a relational situation like his wife or his children or anything that would produce estrogen. He relaxes in an activity that produces testosterone. The problem is, and men need that, that's their time to recover. And so it's known in sports that you need to, if you want to actually build more muscle mass, you need to work out and you need time to recover, 2 days to recover, you build back again, or you work other muscles every day, but those muscles have a chance to recover. So men are all about action and rest, action and rest. And women are all about give and receive, give and receive. But the challenge for women is to give on the basis of having received. And what you give is what a man needs. And what a man primarily needs is not you to do things for him, but to appreciate what he does for you. And so now we're back at that insight that you commented on a minute ago, which is women. And here's a study to back it up. Just spending, I think it's like 5 minutes in the presence of a woman who's happy and responding with a smile to something he said or something he did or his presence. Just that makes a man's well-being dramatically increase for the day. Now,
it should be another argument against nagging or complaining or trying to point out his flaws, which so many women get stuck in that pattern, which is why I always try to tell them, like, appreciate your man, be grateful for your man.
It's very hard for that to be sincere if she's on her male side. That's the problem.
Ooh.
When a woman's on her male side and not on her female side at the same time, you can be just on your female side, or you can be on your male side and female side at the same time. So if she's not making more estrogen significantly than her testosterone, like right now, you are balanced. You're doing your job. You've got to promote yourself, get yourself out there. You've got to make a difference. You got to pay bills, whatever. All that is your male side, but you're looking beautiful. You look about how you look. You're nurturing. You want to help. It's more of a nurturing thing. And also you love it. You like it. You're enjoying yourself. You see, all that's your female energy, which attracts. Female energy attracts people to support you. Male energy attracts people who need you. Okay, so what you want is both. You need an audience. That's your male side pulls forth the audience because you have competence and skill and service and help people. But your female side, people go, oh, I like that. That just feels good. I want to be around happy, positive, joyful. And that's female power. We talk about empowering women. Yes, being on your male side can earn money and express your talents, and that's all good. But your power is, you could be the best writer in the world, but you need somebody to read your books. You need to attract, okay? I've attracted 50 million people to read my books. I have a really good wife, but I'm a better husband.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's basically having the male and female side. And in a context of just understand the female side of us is the side of us that has needs and has support. Okay. And now to be supported, if you have feminine energy, means you're not so picky about things. You're not complaining about things. You're able to see the good in things. That's balance. Now, if you're balanced on your male and female side, then you can do that. And this is what's great about women today. They have the greater potential to be focused on the positive, but they also have to look at the negative. Now, let's just take that concept for a moment. that life is about problems and solutions. Life is about not enough and abundance. Okay, so I have abundance in my life, but I don't have enough to make everybody abundant. Okay, so there's a lack. I'd like to have more so I can help more people, but I'm very happy with what I have. That's seeing the positive and seeing the negative, seeing the glass half full and half empty, seeing both sides of it. Now, interesting is the physiology of the brain is such they've now found out that when people are pessimistic, that's looking at the dark side of things and remembering the problems, right? That's what gives rise to nagging and complaining. Okay, looking at the dark side of things, looking at what's missing, looking what you should be better. Okay, then that's the negative. What they found is, we'll call that pessimistic because that's the research. So pessimistic, when the person is pessimistic, their right prefrontal cortex gets blood flow and the left does not.
Interesting.
Very interesting. I love when the biology supports ideas of balance.
Yeah.
Now the left prefrontal cortex becomes active, blood flow starts increasing more there, more activity on the left side. You're an optimistic person. Now let's go back in history a little bit and understand the relationship where we come from as men and women, and our biology is a reflection of our evolution. You're in a, and it doesn't have to go back too far. I've gone to the Amazon. I saw this. Okay. So I lived in little villages with the people with no contact with the West. And all the women are pretty much pregnant, are helping each other take care of their kids. And they're cooking and they're cleaning and the tribe all to themselves. And the men are all sharpening their tools or out in the jungle and doing their things. Very different worlds we live in. And they're very harmonious. And they have a lot of sex, by the way, a lot of sex. What's different about them and for me, who has a lot of sex, is I'm monogamous. They're not monogamous. Okay, so they have another, it's a primitive level of consciousness, without a doubt. It's this higher level of consciousness where you can be on both the male and female side at the same time. And to do that, you have to be in a monogamous relationship. A woman has to feel so special. See, no threat. Her security has to go so high that there's no threat of losing the man. And then through monogamy, not only is the security increase, but something else increases, which is the bonding. Bonding has to go higher and higher and higher and higher. And all it takes to break your bonding is for him to masturbate while he's away from you. To do porn would break it even more. To have sex with another woman would literally tear that bonding, and it's painful. It's just like somebody died. And it's like you have a bank account, you're building it up, and one of you just spent that money somewhere else and you start again. So bonding is a real experience, to where just to know where it comes from, you know, how to get there is coming back to finding your female side and finding balance, which don't want to forget that. But I speak from my wisdom of a 34-year marriage where we had great sex, and I continue to grow in great sex and so forth, and understanding it. My PhD was in sexual counseling. You know, I've been teaching classes on sex. You know, Men Are from Mars, Women from Venus. I became very successful with that. My other book is Mars, Venus in the Bedroom, which was also #1 for a year on the New York Times list. It's amazing. You know, sex is I just think sex is such an important thing, along with good communication skills, but you can use sex as well in order to start creating this polarity where she's more on her female side. That's another dynamic to it, but there's no chance of that growing if you don't have monogamy, because every time you go, even to be turned on to another woman, I'm tearing apart some of the bonding I have to my wife. And the more you bond with your partner, your body makes different chemicals in sex. This has now been proven, which is, if I have sex with a stranger, afterwards, certain chemicals get produced. Estrogen levels go up, and then my testosterone goes back down to baseline. If I have sex with my wife, who I'm monogamous with, same thing happens. Estrogen goes up, testosterone goes down to baseline, but another hormone gets produced called prolactin. Prolactin is only for people in monogamous relationships. Your body knows, it's evolution. Your body says, if this woman loves me and I love her, and then we want you to stay with her so you can create a family. We don't want you attracted to other women. It kills a man's sexual attraction to other people.
Wow.
It's the monogamy hormone.
So then let me ask you this. So I'm in Colorado right now, and Denver has such a big population of those like swingers. So are you saying people that are swingers, even though maybe they're married with a relationship, they're not producing that chemical?
No, they're not making that chemical.
Wow.
The reason that they're swingers is that they're not turned on to their partner anymore. I mean, it's like one of the movie stars said, why would I go outside to have sex when I've got the best? Why do I go to another restaurant when I got ribeye at home? You know, but people's sex life goes dry. And part of why it went dry, now this is something nobody wants to hear, but it's another piece of science, is that they had too much sex, too much emphasis on pleasure and too much emphasis on how do we generate more crazy stuff in the bedroom. The research shows, again, this is studies, and there's a yes, but go online and you'll see.
And I'm like, wait, too much sex? No, not possible.
Here's how it works. Now,
all right, let's hear it.
Just understand the biology. Nobody wants to hear this. The good news is, you know, I'm 70 and have the iron penis every day and have sex every day because I developed the skill to be multi-orgasmic without ejaculating.
And so that's important for a man. Yeah, absolutely. But for a woman, what about for a woman?
Well, there's two types of orgasm a woman can have. One is climax and one is multi-orgasmic. Climax is a little bit more like a man's ejaculation. She's working hard at it. She's focusing on it and she's doing it. You know, she's trying to catch up with him or she's doing it for herself. That's a climax. That's what Freud called an immature orgasm. It's what most women who consider themselves orgasmic actually have. It's that you did it and you're done. Then there's another type of orgasm, the multi-orgasmic woman. She goes on and on and on, and she doesn't do anything. He does it all for her. She's responding, and there'll be some role play back and forth where she'll feel so much power. Her male side starts rising up, and then she jumps on him and does that for a little while. Then he jumps on her again. You go back and forth. But there's no fear ever in her body that it's going to be over because he's able to last as long as she's had many, many orgasms. And then she kind of feels, okay, I'm done. It's as simple as that. It's surrender. She's on the pure female side of not doing anything except just responding and responding and responding. No focusing on your clit. Okay.
Which is amazing. I've studied Tantra with past partners, and I can attest to how beautiful that is when you're purely in the feminine receiving mode of the multi-orgasmic going and going and going. And unfortunately, a woman who is so strong in her masculine, she'll never experience that. Like you're saying, just that clitoral orgasm and done.
Yeah. And a lot of women go, well, how do I experience that? Well, one thing is for some women, you need like a 45-minute massage from him before you can even relax enough to get into your body, which, by the way, we're talking about shifting back to some of the basics of, let me finish the thing on the science of ejaculation for men, because you want your man's testosterone up there. What they found is that when a man ejaculates, his testosterone will drop back to his baseline. Now, the baseline of men in the West today, for a variety of reasons, plastics, GMOs, all these things, the cultural conditioning, being more on your female side, lots of reasons, but men's testosterone levels are dropping 1% every year. So basically, and the average even 20 years ago, a 50-year-old man had half the testosterone levels he had when he was young. Now it's much lower. The 20-year-old has 20% lower testosterone than a male 20 years ago. I would say, from my experience and working with men and talking with them and going online and hearing their experiences, is that the major cause of that is not just plastics and GMOs. That's also toxic. I'm into getting rid of that. But it's that they're masturbating. They're masturbating twice a day, 3 times a day, and that produces ADD. That produces high dopamine stimulation, desensitizes dopamine receptor sites, and now you're dependent upon high stimulation of fantasy in order to experience the surge of testosterone to allow you to sustain attraction to a woman who's real woman. Because see, if I have sex with my wife or someone I loved when I'm younger, there's a lot of estrogen being produced. No estrogen gets produced when you're masturbating or you're doing some porn thing with some woman you don't even know. I sound so diminishing when I say it, because for me, it would be so diminishing to even think of masturbating or to do porn. To me, it just all looks fake and I laugh. There's no interest in it at all. It's not a judgmental thing. It's just that it's soul depleting. But when people don't have a lot of soul, they don't even notice what they're missing. You know, I'm a yogi. You know, I started meditation as a child. I did yoga at 3 years old. My mother had an esoteric bookstore. I became a monk for 9 years. I had this enlightenment experience. But if I ejaculate, half of it goes away for a week. Okay. It's just,
wow.
you know, I walk around like a unlimited consciousness. It's a wonderful experience. But then if I was to ejaculate, it's such a downer for me. And then there's a lot of emotional turbulence I see in my relationship whenever I would ejaculate, more so than everything's just loving and connected. Because you have to realize every time a man ejaculates, he abandons his partner.
How so?
Okay, so what happens is you make love with a man, you're opening up more and more. And again, you do it like 10 times more than a guy does. You bond more than a man. So you're opening up, the type of climax, his estrogen is high, his love is the highest, your love is the highest if you're having multi-orgasmic. And then what happens after that, if he ejaculates, is then his estrogen went so high, his testosterone goes down to baseline. It was way high. It was at least 50% higher, maybe 100% higher. And now it just suddenly goes back. He pulls away because detachment from personal detachment raises
testosterone. Yeah.
So, you know, you have this hot weekend at your tantra class, you know, you're doing 4 or 5 times of great sex and everything. Then the guy ignores you. Okay. It's like he's off at his work and he's doing his thing. And you're kind of like, we got to such a high level. What just happened? You know,
yeah.
So
where did he go? What did I do wrong? The typical female response.
It's again, what did I do wrong? You did nothing wrong, except you had too much sex. It was too good. You know, you know, people win the lottery too good and then they go crazy, you know, and a few years later they're broke again. Too good is not a good thing. It's good is great is a good thing. So anyway, when it comes to sex, this was the research that a guy has sex on Saturday night, his testosterone goes down to baseline. He has sex on Tuesday night, his testosterone starts at baseline, goes up a little bit, goes back down to baseline. The guy who doesn't have sex on Tuesday, he goes for 6 days without ejaculating. On the 7th day, he wakes up with 50% more testosterone. That's the same level of testosterone as when you fell in love. You don't need the newness to stimulate that much testosterone. You need to not overdo sex. And if you're in a monogamous relationship, because you have prolactin, it's quite easy to, your refractory period is much longer. You know, men have this refractory period. Some men are like machines when it comes to sex. Most women don't like that. There's no emotional contact. They look rather bored while they're doing it. The machine gun sex guys, you see them in the porn things. There's no love there. There's no emotion. So he can just keep going in his testosterone world. He can ejaculate. He can get up and do it again because he made no prolactin. Prolactin causes you to lose interest in sex unless you're taking drugs. Let's say what it does is prolactin lowers the need to have sex again for a while. And that would be great if you're having children and a family and all of that, and you're not interested in other women. So if you go 6 days, 7 days, just try it. It's like fasting. And by the way, for men, fasting is also a great testosterone producer. I wouldn't say it's just sex that keeps my testosterone so high and healthy and vibrant and so forth. And it's also, I do fasting. I do the intermittent fasting. That's also a testosterone builder for men. So in any kind of discipline, if it's not too much, you got to find the right balance. But what you can do is after 3 months of building up your prolactin in a monogamous relationship, then you can pick up some of the books on how to practice orgasm without ejaculation. And you can do that. You can't do that if you're addicted to ejaculation. You've got to cure the addiction to ejaculation. And it's that same addiction that causes men to get angry. You know, when men get angry, what we have to know is very basics is anger in women are men is estrogen levels going higher. Okay. So it's surging estrogen when you're angry. And if you can be heard, then the estrogen levels will go to an even higher level and your stress level will go down. Okay. So,
which is beautiful for women that are too much in their masculine. Like Go talk to a girlfriend, express your feelings, be heard, and your estrogen levels go up.
That's the most powerful technique. So that we've gotten around to that one. Yeah. That is the most powerful technique of feeling safe, first of all. So you never would want to express negative emotion, negative feelings, criticism, or complaint to your partner because they don't want to hear it. Why do you want to say something to someone that they don't want to hear? You think, well, they need to change. Well, they're not going to change from negativity. They're going to change from another skill, which is how to be loving and ask what you want in a non-demanding way with lots of treats. I give you an example of that. So my wife for years was so frustrated, disappointed, disapproving. It just escalates because I left out. I had a habit of leaving the light on in the living room when I walked through the house. And she just couldn't understand how I could forget. In the beginning, it was no big deal. She just turned out the light. But then she'd tell me, John, you should turn out the light. And when John doesn't do that, it suddenly becomes a big deal. Why? Because turning out the light is not a big deal. But because I continued doing it, her mind interprets that to mean, well, then he doesn't love me. It's a little thing. And if he doesn't do it, then that must mean he doesn't love me. As opposed to the way men operate, if it's a big thing, of course we'll do it. If it's a little thing, it doesn't pay much. So why bother? Our brain just doesn't register it. But in her brain, it's the opposite. If he doesn't do little stuff, can I depend on him to do the big stuff? Yes, you can. And you have to penetrate through your strong reaction and realize you're overreacting and making it a big deal when it's not a big deal. And if you can approach him from the point of view of it's not a big deal, he might learn to turn out the light. So this is how that looked in my life. This went on for years. And finally one day, I still remember it so clearly, it was a different approach. She poked her head into the kitchen while I was making a sandwich, and she had a big smile on her face. John, we just won a lottery. She said, John, I've noticed you've been turning out the light. And I just want to remind you how much I love that. And it's not a big deal, but sometimes you still forget. And then she left. That just sat with me, happened again and happened again, and didn't need to happen ever again. Because now, instead of having to remember to turn out the light because the bitch shows up, men, when I don't want to think about negativity, and I don't want to do things for her because she's going to punish me. That's just so dehumanizing. But now I go, oh yeah, this makes her really happy. And turn the switch on, turn the switch on. But you can't just say, hey, John, it would make me happy if you do that. And he goes, fine, fine, fine. No, you got to, it's finesse of learning how to bring out the best in a man. But long before I think that would really work, you have to use what we're just talking about, is to become more feminine, which increases your ability to be soft and sensitive and appreciative inside, and trusting. You know, trust, when you trust a man, it's the ultimate testosterone producer, the ultimate. Accepting his mistakes is another testosterone producer, not making a big deal out of things. And then the third one, which is delighting in the things he does for you. Treats, treats, treats. I mean, this is real stuff. And women might go, well, why does he get all that? I said, well, that's when you're being loving. That's natural. That's your female side. Your female side, when you feel safe, comes forth to be trusting and accepting and appreciative. And what do I get? A woman says, yes, what you get 10 times more. What you get is him doing things that says he cares, caring expressions. But how's he going to do that? He doesn't know what women really need. So you have to communicate to him what you like, what feels good to you, and ask him to do it. Don't ask too much. Don't ask too little. That's an art to it. I think start little, sit and pet and, down. Simple things. You change a little.
Like a puppy first, and then he'll get older.
Yeah, and he's going to pee and poop, and you have to just be accepting of it. My rug is ruined, my table is chewed on, but hey, it's all out of love. Okay.
The house is a mess. He's shedding everywhere.
Exactly. But I love my puppy. Gradually, puppy will learn. I have a future to look forward to. That's called trusting it will get better. Certainly it does. It will with a man if he's approached like a puppy in that sense. But when you are coming from that place of applying these things, what you're giving him is the love he needs. Okay, because But it's what you need to find is the part of you that's not making a big deal out of everything, the part of you that's appreciative of your life, the part of you that's not overwhelmed with things you have to do, because if you don't do them, the world's going to crash. You have no trust. You run out of fear all the time. Coming back to be more relaxed. And it's automatic. It's automatic if your estrogen levels go up. Then suddenly your brain puts on your estrogen levels go into balance, and suddenly you're wearing a different pair of glasses. It shifts. You just see the world differently. And in an instant, it takes, and a lot of women have never had this experience of just being able to talk freely. Talking freely. That's why we have this big business called therapy. 90% of the people who go to therapists are women. And what therapists will do, which not the best thing, but part of the best thing. There's two parts of therapy. They only do the first part, which is it's a bit of just listening to what she's saying and asking good questions to have her look at herself more and what she's feeling inside. Just that raises estrogen, and her problems melt away for a week, and then they come back.
Well, because she's seen and heard. And that's why there's such a raise, I believe, in the coaching industry as well. It's also giving people the space to just be seen and heard.
Absolutely. Giving women the space to be seen and heard 10 times more than you would give a man. Yeah. The flip side of this is after she feels seen and heard, then to give her strategies on how she can make her life differently, rather than leave her feeling victimized with no way to make her life better. And I have to say, coaching does that. Coaching sometimes ignores her need to talk about everything and just.
Well, as a woman, as a love coach, I can tell you the first half of the session is always the woman just like, bah! And then the second half is like, all right, what are we going to do now?
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's the best thing. And this is where counseling can just destroy relationships. It's just a pity party. You just listen to her. Yeah, too bad. Yeah, too bad. She feels good. She's getting her little drug of high estrogen for a week, but she didn't learn anything where she could integrate that into her male side and use strategies to make her life better. And I appreciate you so much because you read Beyond Mars and Venus, which is filled with these strategies. One of the key strategies is, and we're talking for single women on a date, make sure you talk 5 times more than him.
Yeah, you said that in the book, which I thought was phenomenal, because I think it's important to be a good listener and ask great questions.
But what you want him to do.
Well, true, because he should be more interested in us than we are in him, as you said before, right?
Yes. That's the right man. He's trying to get into you. He's knocking on the door. How do I get in?
Right. How do I win her over?
He's got to win her over. That's his thing. And what I teach men, listen, if you want to get laid, just ask a lot of questions, ask more questions. And it's kind of cheating because I tell them, and don't get laid on the first date. This is just something in our society that happened in the 60s. Let's all just jump into bed and have sex. It just, you don't get a chance to bond. She needs to be seen and heard verbally. Then she needs to have more of an emotional response to him doing things for her. And when he's doing things for her, her happiness is a huge gift to him. So that was one of our takeaways from today, is to realize, well, why should I get so much? Because you're the woman. Because when he can succeed in doing things for you, you're giving him the gift. You're giving him the gift of letting him demonstrate caring, a first need that women have for estrogen. Understanding, where he gets to know you better and responds to who you are, what you like, what you want. He's curious. And then comes down to the sex part of the whole thing, where that's when you start to feel healthy sexual chemistry. And now let's say you feel unhealthy sexual chemistry, which he's a stranger and you totally get turned on to him. And I can understand that. You feel you already have a relation, like celebrities. Women can just instantly get turned on to a celebrity, but in many cases, she imagines she has a relationship with him, but it's all imagination. That's what you want to get. A real life relationship starts with real life reality, talking to somebody, being their energy field, sharing with them. And that's, again, once online dating, just because you have great conversation online doesn't mean you're going to have the same chemistry when you meet physically. And so,
well, and I've learned that too. I did online dating once, and I've shared this story on my podcast. I met an amazing man. We were talking on Zoom. We saw each other. We talked. We hit it off amazingly. He flew down to Ecuador to meet me. I was living in Ecuador at the time. And in person, Nothing.
Nothing.
Like
Nothing.
there was no spark, no chemistry. But over the phone, over camera, I mean, it was all there.
Exactly,
So
exactly. But that's the energy fields. There's biological energy fields why we're drawn to people for certain ways. Now, I will say, I know we're ending our time here soon, but when a woman is attracted to a man on his female side, listen to him a little bit in the beginning as he whines and complains, and realize that's your female side you're suppressing, and that's why you were drawn to him. That
oh,
will
beautiful.
help you learn about this repressed side of you, because why were you attracted to him? You're attracted to him because he's expressing a part of you that you don't want to look at. And if you share, it's kind of like you find somebody who's a mirror of something you're not looking at inside yourself. Yeah. And when you feel repulsed and rejected by and resistant to that and repulsed by that, that's why you're not on your female side, because you're afraid a man will be repulsed by that. And actually, men like women that are shorter than them. Women like men that are taller than them. These are some basic things how we fit together. And he wants you to have his higher intelligence will feel good if you have more problems than him, because then he can solve those problems.
Yep.
You're being, I can do everything, woman. Great. You want to work for my company, I'll pay you, but I don't want to have sex with you. See that there's that dynamic of man wants to feel I have something of great significance that you need from me. And one would be an iron penis that comes later. What would be is a man who treats you with respect, a man that's admirable to you, that you want to get to know him, but he wants to get you to know you more. And somebody you can open up with, you don't have to people please with. You find yourself, a lot of us find ourselves trying to say the right thing to impress a man. If you're a woman, don't let the man impress you. Your job is to sit back and enjoy, not be tough, and you won't be tough if you're not looking for your soulmate. Never go on a date looking for your soulmate. Go on a date to have a good time, to have a man take care of you and do nice things for you. And if you didn't enjoy yourself, then don't go back. If you did, enjoy yourself again. It's go on a series of positive dating experiences without any commitment, without any sex, without any of that stuff. And you'll start to develop more your female side of learning your resistance to receiving. You'll feel like we should split bills. No. And how do you even say, because today, he's going to go, what? You don't want to split the bill or something? I'm an old-fashioned girl. I like to have a man take care of me. Just own it.
Exactly.
Own it. And without having to go into, well, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and women actually need more estrogen, but you need testosterone. And if you'll pay for my meal, your testosterone will go up, because I'm going to smile and say, that was a great meal. Okay.
Well, I'm glad you said that, though, because I remember one instance, I was dating a guy and he was paying for everything. I'm old fashioned. And then one time we were out to lunch with some of my girlfriends and he asked me to split the bill. And I was in such shock. This had never happened. I just said, okay, but I never dated that guy again. Right. I can tell you that. I was like, what just happened? Are you kidding me?
That's right. You have self-esteem, and women can learn a lot from you. And though I like what one woman said is that when he doesn't pay the bill or want to pay the bill, next.
Yep. Thank you. Next. You just showed yourself.
There's plenty of people out there for me.
Well, John, this has been absolutely amazing. And once again, I can 100% attest to all the powerful concepts that you've really taught in your book, Beyond Mars and Venus, that I'm now teaching in my programs. My flirt course is all about masculine, feminine energy. And I loved being able to add in more about estrogen and testosterone. I know your daughter, Lauren, teaches a lot about that as well in her courses. So just a little plug for her work. And just wanted to mention your website, Mars Venus, the course that you're offering for free, how to get everything you want in relationships for women, men, couples, singles, and of course, the 20 other books that you have that have been changing lives for the last, 40 years?
Yeah,
50 million?
I want people to know we just touched the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that goes on in relationships, but this was so much. People think, how could there be more? It's a big package, every stage you go through. And I want to mention one other book, which is really good for the listeners, is the Mars Venus on a Date.
Yeah, I'm going to read that one next. I haven't read that one.
It doesn't have the thing on hormones, but the hormones will back up everything I suggest there. I just didn't understand the biology at that time. And then there's another one for people, you know, if they're in their 40s, they've been married before, there's a painful breakup. And, you know, even if you wanted a divorce, it's still a painful breakup. There was a bonding, it was a dream, and then you rip apart. And so I wrote a book called Mars Venus Starting Over, which is healing exercises to heal your broken heart. And it allows you to trust again, because so many women, they'll take 9 years before they get involved after a divorce. For men, it's 3 years, because men know they need sex in order to feel love, primarily. Women don't need sex to feel love. They need sex to feel higher levels of love, ecstasies, multi-orgasmic, but they can start loving their children more, loving the world more, loving their garden more. You can access feeling so much easier than men can. But it's the journey of sexuality. And just a little tip here for men, if they were listening, is when you're having sex, never let the pleasure overwhelm the increasing feelings of love. The only reason you have sex as a more enlightened person is to access more love, and to then feel that love and then express that love in the same way you would have said in the very beginning, when you said to her, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful. You're the one for me. I don't want to be with anybody else. I love you so much. I'm just so lucky to be with you. How did I find you?" You know, these are the phrases you say again and again for 30 years when you have that feeling of increasing love. And men don't realize women don't get tired of hearing that stuff.
Nope, we sure don't. We could hear it every single day. And you even gave a funny little example in your book of the man and woman where she's like, "He doesn't love me." And he's like, "I told you I loved you 30 years ago." Like, I still need to hear it.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it. Okay, I got to run. So nice to be with you, Emerald. Pleasure.
Thank you, John. Have an absolutely beautiful evening. It was wonderful to have you here, and make sure to watch the other videos that are released. Hop into the private Facebook group, and remember, there are unlimited possibilities for lasting love, and you are meant to manifest the love of your life and the life of your dreams. Thanks, John.
Thank you.